The rain fell in sheets, thick and relentless, washing over the city like a cleansing that never quite reached the dirt beneath. Detroit's skyline stood like a broken promise, a mixture of forgotten history and fading ambition. In the heart of it all, beneath the crumbling facades and neon reflections, Marcus Walker moved like a ghost. He wasn't a man who made noise unless he had to. Inside his dimly lit apartment, he stared at himself in a cracked mirror. His fingers traced the faded ink on his arms, remnants of a life that had marked him more than he ever realized. Each tattoo was a chapter, each scar a lesson. He flicked the ash off his cigarette, watching as the ember flared briefly before dying out, just like everything else in this city. Marcus hadn't been born into this life. No cartel blood, no legacy of crime. He was a kid from Detroit's West Side, raised by a mother who worked 2 jobs and a father who had disappeared before Marcus could walk. Survival was the only game he knew, and at 16 he made his first mistake. A petty crime, a bad choice, a system that never lets go. Juvenile detention turned weeks into months. When he got out, the streets had changed, or maybe he had. That's when he met Felix. Felix was different. He wasn't just muscle. He was a strategist, a man who saw potential in people like Marcus. "You're smart," Felix had told him once, lighting a cigar. "Most kids out here, they just react. You think." One deal turned into 2, then 3. By 2025, Marcus wasn't just playing the game, he was running it. The city moved differently at night. The neon signs, the wet pavement, the distant sounds of sirens, it all told a story Marcus knew too well. Tonight was just another deal. A simple exchange, nothing he hadn't done 100 times before. But something felt off. The car ride to the warehouse was silent, save for the rain tapping against the windshield. Marcus checked his gun, fully loaded. He wasn't a fool. He stepped out onto the wet pavement, his boots splashing through puddles. The warehouse loomed ahead, a nondescript building with steel doors and flickering lights. Inside, men waited, faces he didn't recognize. Marcus scanned the room, too quiet, too tense. "Where's Felix?" he asked. A man with cold, empty eyes shrugged, no words. That's when Marcus knew Felix wasn't coming. He never would again. Before he could react, the first gunshot shattered the silence. Marcus hit the ground. His instincts took over. He reached for his gun, but the room was already in chaos. Shouts, footsteps, the metallic scent of blood in the air. He rolled behind a crate, his mind racing. This wasn't a robbery. This wasn't about money. This was personal. Then, through the smoke, he saw a familiar face. Jaylen, his younger brother, the kid who was supposed to stay out of this life. Jaylen stood in the middle of the chaos, gun in hand, eyes wild. "You gotta get out of here, Marcus," Jaylen's voice shook. "This isn't your fight anymore." Marcus's grip tightened on his weapon. It was always his fight. But looking at Jaylen now, he saw something different. Fear. Desperation. A kid too deep in a world he never should have known. And in that moment, Marcus made a choice. The city still whispered, the rain still poured, the streets were still cold. Marcus didn't need to count his sins, he carried them every day. But now something was different. Jaylen was in, and Marcus had to decide how far he was willing to go to get him out. There were no happy endings in this world. Only the shadows, and in Detroit, the shadows never let you go.